Alrighty, I'm ready when you are. Give me 1 second. Let me just, all right. What's up, everybody? Welcome to UFO War Room. With me, I have a special guest. He is a whistleblower. His name is Whistling Mike. Mike, if you could just give everybody a quick rundown as to who you are, and then we'll get started with me grilling you with questions.
Yeah, no problem, man. So 2+ years in the SSCI SCIF, the AARO SCIF, solving the UAP mystery. OSI confirmed death threats from China and others. AARO's accused me of extortion, and FBI's accused me of blackmail. Here we are. But as they say, I'm not a whistleblower because the little bit that I was, they pulled that rug out from under me. So I have no whistleblower protection.
So you have no official whistleblower status or protection, but you are considered. What makes you considered SCI, whatever it is, clearance, and what makes you, like, what gives you all of those things? Like, why is it that you got involved in this in the first place? Like, what the hell? What got you involved in all this stuff?
Well, such as my persona now, I really wanted to be in the shadows. We tried to direct sell the government with technology that we had developed that did many things, and some of those things included being able to detect and then grab the answers for the so-called UAP mystery. Had some pretty nasty treatment when we tried to direct sell. Got investigated by all the various military IC departments, and then handed off to the FBI and the DOJ. So what do? You call someone's boss, right? And the boss basically is SSCI and the Armed Services Committee. And when we got into talking to them a little bit, SSCI picked up on one key term, which was UAP. And basically what they said is, you guys come in and brief us, you've got answers, and that'll take the heat off you from all the IC agencies. So we were requested to come in as a business. It was never us reaching out and saying we're a whistleblower or anything like that.
So essentially, you guys have a product with your company. You want to sell said product to the government, right? Government's like, sure, this thing looks great. Come on in, sign here, sign here, sign here. Get in this room, and then what? Like they put you in, which is a SCIF, right? So essentially, this thing. Why would they put you in a SCIF? Like, what is it that you're selling specifically, or what do you have product wise? Are you able to talk about that? Like, what is your product specifically?
Well, the technology portfolio is many things, but overall, essentially, it's the idea that we've defeated stealth, and that includes the electronic jamming and spoofing. So once that's accomplished, many things are visible, and that would include UAP, right? So anything that isn't there unless you can prove it's there. And there's a long list of adversarial anywhere on technology.
Okay, so essentially, you gave them the light switch to turn the light on so they could see everything that they couldn't see before. So whatever it is that you're working on, your sensors are stronger, your programs are better, whatever it is, it sees on more spectrums, I'm assuming, because these things, anybody who's watched Skinwalker Ranch and believes anything that they're seeing, sees these things blipping in and out, and they've seen, recently they've seen these things cloaking. Are you seeing more alien tech, or is it you're just seeing more United States tech that no one's supposed to be seeing? Is that what scared the shit out of the government? Like, had them basically...
Well, that's the big thing, right? So you got to prove yourself as a little guy, and in order to do that, you do things like turn in GPS coordinates with date and timestamps, which obviously, there's no way you could guess that. One in what, maybe trillions. I mean, it's impossible. So once you prove that you can pick up what's there that they really haven't told anybody about, that gets their attention. It just wasn't in a great way. There's this idea that you would think they would come in and immediately try and purchase it from us, but that isn't what happens. And then as we started to roll on through this, even talking to SSCI and the SCIF, it was still the focus of they'll protect us from the Invention Secrecy Act, which our government had us to take whatever someone invents. And in that line, I'm not the first person that's come up with something that can defeat stealth. This has happened before, but you didn't hear about it because they grabbed it from the little guy and buried him behind threats of jail time and fines. Right. So we end up in this May of 2023. We talked for several months before that. And right after that, was the AARO SCIF. Same day.
So they put you in the AARO. So who is it you went through first? Did you go through any of the senators? Because I think is it Burlison that's talked about you, right? Burlison's talked about you having a picture or something like that. And is that
When I first came in, it was completely through the Senate. It was through SSCI, so the senators and the staff members on that committee, and then that's all I did back and forth. The last time was actually January of this year that I was in the SSCI SCIF, and when that kind of finished up and ended very poorly and badly, was the first time that I decided to go talk to the House, which is Burlison, and I made contact with Burlison first. And that's kind of why I've been dealing with Burlison back and forth. But by the time I got to the House, you have kind of a divided Congress, so to speak. The Senate's drones, right? Technology now.
right?
And
Everything's a drone.
Right, in the
doesn't matter
House.
what it is, it's a drone.
Yeah, the House is the opposite. So I walked into, Burlison's office with Rush on the staff and others, and they're already kind of convinced, right or wrong, that NHI, alien biology, the mummy thing. So it's been an interesting switch. But you see what happened between me doing briefings for 2.5 years and then kind of starting off with someone that's gathered the information everywhere else.
Because you supposedly have an image, or you have something. You have like an actual piece of one of these craft that you've seen, or what is it that you've got? Because you, besides your technology and your company, you actually have a couple of images and like you've got, like a holy grail from what I hear, and that's what got me interested in you. Was that?
Yeah, I mean, if you can track something, right? And we think about this through this analogy, then anything and everything that's going to be included in that, which is failures, parts and pieces, photos, videos, is all going to be part of that, especially after the decades we've been at this. So that is all bad. I'm a little careful what I say because, several things going all the way through the Tim Phillips stuff to just getting calls from intelligence agencies. Everyone watches my tweets. They'll be watching this when you release it, and they always want to know about what did I say. So
yeah, I'm sure I'll have weirdos watching my house and looking into me. I'm just some dork on the internet, man.
I haven't committed any crimes, so it's like I'm trying to make sure I don't give anybody anything to,
Yeah, well, you haven't committed any crimes they can get you on. Right? You haven't committed anything they can get you on yet, but believe me, they probably.
Well, there you go. So I'm a little careful what I say, and I mean, keep in mind, and people don't like this, but I was never around for this whole like disclosure. That was never what was important to me, and that was never what the business was focused on. So it's kind of like if you had a CEO, head of a department of Lockheed or anybody else in here, and you're asking them about what do they have or what are their secrets, well, they're not going to tell you. But it's the idea of, do you still want to talk to a little bit about what's going on? And that's kind of what I tried to offer the whole X community, but the X community really just wants everything I have, go to jail for. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Go directly to jail for free. Do not pass go.
Right. So.
It's crazy. Like, so do you think that the things that you've got, do you think that the images or the collection of, so you said you've got a decade's worth of images, and so you've got a lot of times worth of stuff as far as data, correct? Like, that's what I'm assuming. That's what you just said.
Yeah,
right?
We started this in the early 2000s, so you're talking, over 20 years of been at this.
Of data collection of shit that nobody else can see that you guys can.
Right.
So I'm pretty sure. Wow. Okay. So it's gonna be like those MH370 videos where they're like, "This is the craziest footage I've ever seen." They're like, "No, it's debunked. It's debunked. It's fake. But it's like, dude, there's no way to me.
Well, like I said, I can't get into a whole lot, but let's put it this way. And even when I talked to the FBI and didn't say a whole lot, they kind of said this is their assumption, which is that you don't get one meeting at the SSCI SCIF, nevertheless multiple over 2.5 years, unless you're backing up what you're saying.
Right. Yeah. You guys, they called your bluff, but you guys said, okay, here you go. Here's
right.
You came up and dropped your dick on their shoulder and go, here you go. Now move it off your shoulder.
Well, put it this way, metadata, all the other stuff that you would think an intelligence committee at the highest level would want. So anything we said, you cash that shit at the bank. You know what I mean?
Right.
They knew that.
So like the specific types of evidence, like you gave coordinates, you gave photos, you gave radar data, like that's what you provided at the SCIF, right? That's basically.
We brought it all in. Let's put it this way: we thought they were on our side because of what they were telling us.
Same team, right? You're going in there thinking same team.
They're in front of us, keep going, showing us more, spill the beans. You're covered under whistleblower protection, and then you find out at the end what the hell the government's had cooked up for you the whole time.
That was all bullshit. So the technology and things like that you brought to them, they didn't confiscate that from you, right? Like you still own all that stuff, right? Or they take it from you? What ended up going on with that? As
a general rule, we got to talk hypotheticals here. So in the general rule, if you're going to bring something like this, what you would do is make sure you never got anything you just had one piece or copy of, right? Because if you never got it back, you've always got your backup.
Right. So you guys didn't give them everything. You gave them some of the people.
Right. And with that said, my attorney was on Twitter as well. When I first started getting into a mess with the committee and these folks saying, well, you're no longer covered under whistleblower protection and things like that. They did have possession of some of our things, and that's one of the things that I haven't actually helped me get retrieved back right off the bat.
So if you're no longer covered under the whistleblower protections, can't you spill the beans, or are you under an NDA or something like that? How does that work? Like they make you sign paperwork? Or what do they make you do? I'm assuming they make you.
I am a pain in the ass for them, but I'm also in this sort of it's never happened before. So legally, it has been a mess to figure out what actually is the law and where would it be interpreted. There's a lot of good things about being the first, and there's a lot of bad things about being the first. So, SSCI, that SCIF, we were told, and we realize it now, it's true. We were the only people ever, civilians without a clearance, who have ever in the history of that SCIF been in that SCIF.
Wow.
And we were in it multiple times because you're not technically supposed to. And if you look at the new NDAA language, I pointed out a couple months back where it talked about letting anyone that comes in to testify on UAP about the restrictions they would be under. And I think what we're going to do is make everybody get TS clearance. So you go in there and you testify SSCI, and then because of that TS clearance, you also can't tell anybody about what you said. But there are still many things. If you're familiar at all with like John Kiriakou, who was a CIA guy that took a pretty big fall, did prison. Also one of the first people ever essentially put back behind bars over the Espionage Act. There's always some shit in the book they can pull out.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So we're walking a fine line is what I'm saying here. And again, I'm still a business. And the government's still probably going to be the customer. It's just it's an ugly business to be in.
So I'm assuming you got death threats and things like that. How did OSI confirm? Did you get death threats from China? I'm assuming you got it from adversaries. Who else did you get it from? Did you, probably even got it from our own people, for fuck's sake?
Well, we've had quite a bit. And it's, essentially I had not just the SSCI that I was reporting things to, but I had a couple DOD drop boxes for AARO that any offers, financial offers, conversations, including death threats went into. So they look at the things, right? The phone number, what's the evidence that came with it. Usually if you send a death threat, you got to send a little something that says this, take this one seriously, right? So all that goes to them. OSI works the magic and confirms it.
Okay. So why do you believe? So AARO tried to accuse you of extortion, right? Like, why do you think that they want your shit? So they're gonna say, oh, he did this and he did that. So they're just gonna lie. Why did they try to accuse you of blackmail and extortion and all that other shit? And has that been resolved? And has that been like, have you been vindicated that that's not the case? And if not,
where
what
it
can you
sits today is I've kind of quit saying AARO as much as I'm going to say Tim Phillips.
Okay, gotcha.
Because when you listen to the story of Tim Phillips, there's so many things that would change the perception of that story, but of course they were left out. I've never met Tim Phillips. He wasn't there when I went in at 23. That was Kirkpatrick.
Right.
I've never been in a skiff with him. I've never talked to him. I've never had anything to do with him. So all of a sudden he shows up on the scene and he keeps saying we. When he says we, he's talking about AARO. He's talking about things that happened when he wasn't even there. It's like he somehow became the face of AARO, including the years he wasn't there before and the time he hasn't been there after. So it's a weird sort of.
Makes you wonder if he had some ties to it to begin with. Maybe he did
Well,
have something to do. You know what I mean? Maybe he's like one of the, because you listen, a lot of these government things are probably intertwined in some way, shape, or form. So he might be the dude who's in charge of it the whole time, and we just didn't know because his name wasn't attached to it. You know?
He's got two different stories. One he usually tells involves a guy. He says he had nothing to do with UFOs, and he got asked by a guy, didn't know who AARO was. And then recently he told a second story about he did know who AARO was. So again, if you do a montage of each interview he does, the story keeps changing.
Right.
And you know, one of the things he said at the end of several of them is that it sounded like extortion to him, and they turned that over to the FBI, and they had FBI embedded with the AARO unit. I'm speaking to the FBI. They reached out to me, the UAP FBI group that's formed and is wanting my help. And I text back and forth with the guy that's leading that thing. I haven't agreed to help him a whole lot, but I gave him a little bit of guidance. Let's just say again, that's another leading bullshit story about the FBI after me. I'm helping him. So you look at everything he said, and it's just all I can tell you is it's all bullshit. I mean, it's really amazing that there's no truth. So what made him come out and do that, I think, is, you know, the senators were scared when I was in there. You're sitting across the table from a guy who's telling them that trillions of dollars of your assets and all your stealth programs is obsolete.
Right.
You want to make a deal with them, or you want to do what you normally do is, and you just use the Invention Secrecy Act to take everything. That puts you into an NDA. You don't have to sign it. You're automatically in it, which means I couldn't talk about it, or I'd be facing federal penitentiary time and millions of dollars per instance. It just makes the problem go away.
Right.
And for whatever reason, Tim Phillips seemed to take that a couple more measures on past that, and not only talked about that, but also said that based on what he heard from staff members, he also wouldn't want to be on the family. So another personal sort of attack on me. So it's just amazing to me that that went so under the radar. This is a guy who was an SES, who in his own words served at the leisure of the pleasure of the president, and he's going on a podcast with the United States civilians saying that he extorted the government, and also that based on what he heard from staff members, wouldn't want him around his family. I mean, does that sound like?
Yeah, it doesn't. It just sounds like some weird Men in Black shit to me. It sounds like typical. Sounds like typical government. Oh well, if we're not going to get it the right way, then he'll just happen to trip and fall in the middle of the street, and we'll take everything.
It's that sort of level.
Sounds like what they're trying to do.
Yeah, I've had a couple of journalists from some pretty prominent media organizations, and talking through them, even though they see the facts down, they admit they see the facts down, still can't really believe that this just happened. Again, the gentleman that led the Pentagon's AARO at the pleasure of the United States president goes on a podcast and accuses you of extorting the United States government. There's been no trial, no charges, and that you're not safe. You're like mentally crazy. I mean, you just
right. And then this is after a senator went on a podcast and said that you were a good dude to look out for, and that you
Congressman Burlison said I was a patriot.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what got me. That's literally because when all that was going down, I was just breaking onto the Twitter scene. I haven't been on Twitter. It's the first time on Twitter ever, and I've been reaching out to people to try to get them on my podcast and on my show, and I've been using Twitter. It's been great. But yeah, I just jumped on the scene, and I jumped into all of that, and I jumped into the Chupacabra and the Lou Elizondo stuff, and then and then you got Dylan Borland going, we need you guys, and I was like, fuck yeah, you need me. All right, let's go. You know what I mean?
You just ran and went for the deep end, man. You just
yeah, I jumped right in without being able to swim and figured it out. So it's been interesting. But yeah, no, it's been great, and I can't believe I actually even getting a chance to talk to you because this has been wonderful. So in your experience with the things that you've seen with your sensors, how do I put this that you can answer? Are you mainly seeing our tech that's secret, or are you seeing shit that you're like, okay, there's no way that that's human, like that just we can't do that, you know what I mean?
Well,
Or is
you
it a
got
mixture
to
of
go
both?
back. You got to go back kind of to the beginning, and I think a lot of people in the space who watch the show forget what the beginning is. And what the beginning is a story that involves Roswell, re-engineering craft, and going on. So if I was to say to you, the percentage of what I see is stuff I can't talk or identify, U.S. assets and adversary assets as far as identify, publicly here. But then you get into this thing where I said, well, what are you looking for? What's a UFO if there's not aliens, through the glass that you see or something like that? A person in this space would say, well, the tic tac at the Nimitz, right? All these, we've got these observables and instantaneous acceleration. If I say to you, well, I've seen that.
Right.
What did I just see? Did I just see US tech? If I say that, or is that alien, or is that US tech reversed from alien? And then it goes right back into that kind of 360 where you have a hard time dividing
The chicken or the egg. I get it. So you
Yeah,
don't know, you can't tell what's what because, okay, so basically you're saying in a roundabout way that we have achieved tech, or we have achieved the level that they have, to at least on paper to visibly see that, all right, well, we can't tell. So you're saying that our shit's just as good as theirs is, like on paper, like if you put our tic tac next to theirs, you couldn't tell what's what. But I'm assuming that their shit's gonna be just a little step above what we're able to do. But who knows? I could be wrong. But
the
that's crazy.
technology from the Nimitz tic tac encounter is in the air, and it's not one little counter. 20 years ago, this that. I'm telling you, it's regularly in the air. And what people have to ask themselves the question of is it alien? Is it ours? If it is ours, we truly develop it. Did we get it from some crashed craft? But I always bring up this question. I never have publicly before, but it's like, think about evolution. So of humans, did we come from a microbe, a fungus, through the cycle, be a monkey, and now a human? That brings us to flight. Today's the 23rd anniversary of my brother flight today, and then we start flying. So we've been flying for like 123 years. I think it was 1902. And look at what we've done in that time. 60s went to the moon, right? You got the SR-71, so you got 100 years of flight. So then you go back to that and you say, if we could get to now, a fungus, then in the 100 years of flight, you get from flying a bicycle with wings down a hill, the right, to tic tac technology. Now, if you're a person that believes in God, it's the same concept. What created all this? Why did God help a person or a particular country develop this? I just don't see an argument that it has to be aliens. Aliens only could develop this technology, is what I'm saying.
So what technologies discussed in the skiff most closely match a performance seen in a Nimitz tic tac encounter? Like, you've seen some stuff that you talked about in the skiff that matched what the things in the Nimitz could do, because the way that they were talking about the Nimitz, it's just like these things were like almost not time traveling, but they would be just where they were supposed to be ahead of time. Like, if the plane is flying whatever due east, all of a sudden the tic tac will be just there ahead of them, like before they even got to point A, point B. And that's what they were talking about that they were doing. So you've seen shit that could do, you've seen stuff that does that. Wow. Okay.
Well, I mean, the Nimitz story went into very detailed, especially when you start getting into things like what makes this happen, how does this happen, and then you go back and you have the ability like they did to pull records and get things, and that gets real interesting. I can't really go further than that in the Nimitz encounter, but one of the things that's always bothered about me is they talk about the tic tac, right? Just the tic tac. There's another story in there of another gentleman who was involved with the data bricks. And what he says he's seen is lights off the bow of the ship, and you can even pick them up with binoculars. There's no lights on the tic tac on that generation. So that would tell you there was two generations that are being tested against us. If it's ours, I won't run that right now, or if it's aliens, there's still two models. So again, who does that sound like is going to test against their best radar? The aliens really brought two of their best craft, or would that sound more like a U.S. sort of thing, where we're going to bring the two most advanced things?
It does. It does sound like something the United States would do. Like they, you just so happen to have these things out there, and all of a sudden they've been getting hassled by these weird craft the entire time they've been out there. So it does seem strange, like that. It seems like we would do that. We're talking about we're the country that decided to stick our soldiers on the bow of a ship and say, face this way and don't look away, and then just shot them with goddamn nuclear radiation. So it's
well, I mean, what else is interesting about that is, like, if you look in the gentleman, Gary Voorhees, who's picking him up with binoculars, everybody knows it, everybody's seen it. But you go back to the Tic Tac in Kevin Day, he finally convinced his higher up to sit some planes out and look at it. How come if you're looking at them with your eyes off the bow and you see the lights, you can get a pair of binoculars off the bow and you have lights floating off of the water? Why the fuck didn't you send a helicopter out to see what that was?
Right.
Yeah. I mean, it bothers me. So someone somewhere had to either know what it was or know what it was without knowing what it was, and knowing let's not go fuck up whatever that.
Now the Nimitz, weren't they also getting swarmed by pyramids as well? It wasn't just Tic Tac and orbs. It was I thought it was like basically triangles and pyramids as well. Was that ship, or was that another encounter?
I haven't heard that part of the story that I'm familiar with. What I'm familiar with is getting just unbelievable amount of radar hits, and then essentially send someone out to look at what it was, because the radar hits were doing things they shouldn't be able to do, dropping from certain heights to certain lower heights at a certain amount of times, and that is what had flavor in the jet. But again, if that's enough to convince the higher up, why did nobody on that ship, looking out, especially the captain up top at all these lights, ever want to figure out what in the world that was out there, those lights that shouldn't have been out
there? Yeah, that's just nuts. Now, all right, so then here's another, this leads to this. The drone incursions, right? So I'm in New Jersey, and I've seen these things with my own eyes, and I couldn't believe in the weeks that I was filming it what I was seeing. I mean, they would just sit up in the sky for hours, starting at dark, like literally as soon as it got dark out, here they are. Then we found out weeks later that they're coming off the water, and so where I am in New Jersey in relation to where they were coming is about an hour's drive from the shore. I'm like 25 minutes outside New York City, outside Manhattan, right? So where they're coming from off the water, it didn't make sense as to how they're getting to where I am so quickly. Like I'm in Sopranos land, essentially. Like I live where the Sopranos house was. So it didn't make sense to me as to how they're getting here so fast, how they stay up in the air so long. And I was filming them myself on my live stream on my gaming channel. And the first night, I see what looked like a flat iridescent disc flying through the sky like this. It turns sideways and ends up being C-shaped. Never seen anything. I'm 49. I was 48 at the time. Never seen anything in my life pertaining to UFOs. I've always been a believer, always been an avid believer. Never seen anything in the sky. Always look. I saw that. I missed getting it on camera by about 2 seconds. It was there and then gone. And then 5 minutes later, I had a low-flying, blacked-out helicopter fly directly over me, which made no sense as to why it flew right over me so low, heading in the direction of the ship. And then whatever the hell that just was that I saw. And then throughout the course of the next few weeks when I'm filming these things, then I'm noticing balls of light in the sky, like orbs that just sit there. Like I'm filming all this stuff. And that's what led me down this, to do this, to start talking about, go from gaming to UFOs. And it's just, I've been just infatuated with it. But my question is this. I think it was a mixture of everything, because it was drones for sure. I don't know if they're adversarial. I thought it was rogue AI that we lost control of. It's definitely alien technology, because that's what I've seen. I don't know if the drones per se are that, but you had these same drones that are supposedly ours, and they're shutting down Picatinny Arsenal. They're shutting down Wright-Patterson, which anybody who knows anything about Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, that's not exactly some place that you just show up to and go, okay, this is ours now. Like that's a big deal to do what they were doing in there. So what do you think these things are? Like, do you think that they're ours, enemy, UFO, a mixture of everything? I'm still baffled by it, and these things literally flew over my house daily.
Yeah, so there's a scenario that's a little bit longer, but keep in mind, and I'm not dogging anybody here, rather than some of the people that just go in and start talking about NHI or this and that. When you get into science and research and databases, it's a little longer of an explanation breakdown, which is that when we took politicians and asked about this through the scenario, how it goes is you go back to Roswell. I'm not a believer that a craft came down at Roswell. Um, we have some documentation now that some of the things that were being developed out there, one was to pick up incendiary balloons that were going to be floated over during World War One and Two using the wind currents. Now that sounds crazy until you go back to the Chinese balloons and realize it's pretty easy to do. So what the balloons do is they come over here and they essentially drop a whole lot of high-powered fuel on fire, lights as it drops onto our big forests, wherever it may be. California, you can't put out a fire as it is. And Wyoming,
Yeah, tell me about it.
yeah, Colorado, and then you start dropping them in financial districts, right? You get some houses going. As horrible as that sounds, I mean, this is your forte, so you know what it is. Once you get one rolling, it feeds itself.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's what I do. I'm a firefighter. That's what I do for a living.
Yeah,
So.
if they don't know, right? So you get all that going, and then what happens is that you create paranoia, and panic. Worse than the fires, that's what it is. So now we're being attacked in our own borders. So the thought process there was, we are going to have to pull our troops from the world wars back here because people are demanding, basically, all right, that's great. Screw them. We got to protect ourselves and bring everybody back. And the politicians would have went for it. So what does that do when the world wars, when you talk about pulling the U.S. forces out? If we have to come back here and watch our own ass because we think there's rogue agents, enemy forces rolling around inside our borders, when really it's balloons dropping from the sky. It makes a mass difference if the U.S. forces pull out. People don't realize how much of an issue we even have our own departments and our own military of propaganda and different things. Think of the CIA, mind games, right? That's a part of that. It's a massive part of that. You really have to win the mind game to defeat somebody. They have to give up to do that. So with that kind of setup, that goes into the drones. A lot of senators and people ask me, what are they doing over here? We're being told they're doing, investigative work and surveillance. And I was like, fire anybody that tells you they're doing surveillance. They'd be like, yeah, I don't get it. They got satellites and stuff better than that. Right. So it's obviously not surveillance. What you do is you come over here, a small set of drones and a small team. You create a panic. That's what you're doing. You're not an ISR or anything like that. And then it starts spreading. And what you do is move down the road a little bit, start another one, which is so easy because we're not set up for anti-drone defense here, especially with the domestic area. Nevertheless, our military fields. And then you let people's panic take over, which it did. Then eventually, what was it? It was people were seeing planes saying it was drones, and what the media do? The media said, "Oh, it's just mass panic. There's nothing there." I'm sure there was at the beginning, and I'm sure it was moving around to keep doing that in each area. So what you're doing there really is telling the United States president and the Senate and the House, we have drones that are either in or can get to your domestic borders. You can't bring them down. You see all that at Langley, right? You can't detect them in or out. So if you start a problem for us, if China takes over Taiwan and bring forces into Taiwan, China's not going to fight the U.S. of Taiwan. What they're going to do is use their drones here that they've already shown can both get to our bases and also cause mass panic, which will do the same thing. Make our people tell our politicians, screw Taiwan, bring people back here. We're being attacked in our homelands. That's the overall general, if something big pops off, of what's being done. So it's gone all the way on from World War I and II all the way into 2025, and it has all the way in between that. There's obviously that division and branch of battle, which is the whole mind game thing. So that's really what the drones were. It worked, right? People saw the real ones, reported it, and then all hell breaks loose right after that. So that's what it was, a simple show of they've outsmarted us.
So you think that they were ours? You think it was our tech, our everything, basically causing just bullshit around the world? That's what you think that it is. You don't think it
Uh,
was?
I think the beginning was definitely adversarial tech, but you only have to do it long enough to get it started, right? If one person tells something, you know how that goes, and the next person tells 10, those 10 people tell 10, and by that time they're gone because they don't want to be caught, right? You don't want your drone caught. So you move on down the road 50 miles or 100 miles, do it there where no one's waiting, where no one's prepared for you. And eventually you don't have to fight drones anymore because now everybody who's looking at the sky is in a panic. Everything in the sky is now a drone to them, right?
Yeah, I get it. It's just as somebody who was witnessing it, I know what you're saying. Yes, everything in the sky became a drone, but when these fucking things are sitting for hours,
I don't doubt that there was real
it's,
adversarial tech. And keep in mind, just our drone fleet, we can put one up and fly over 24 hours. I mean, people, again, and this goes into even the Senate, don't really understand drone technology, even car-sized drone technology, coding technology. So again, I'm just saying, don't necessarily make the jump to it's something other than human-made tech on performance. Then becomes an interesting question of this human-made tech, who's the humans that made it, right?
yeah, I don't know. I think it was a mixture of both, in my opinion, because it's just like I said, when I saw that C-shaped craft, I go, "What the?" And it was iridescent. It blew my mind seeing it. I wish I got it on camera. It was beautiful. It truly was. Okay. So why do you all right, so during your 2 years working on UA, did you ever encounter any direct evidence suggesting non-human intelligence? Like you were doing this for, well, actually longer than 2 years. So
We identified where we would like to look for that. And there were things that came up that had the potential and had some scientific evidence backing it versus just somebody saying, I saw something once.
right.
And we also reached out. This is when we're talking to, the House, who's a little more NHI, that sort of feel versus the hardcore technology and drones. Reached out to some of these folks that claim they can bring them in. That was our pitch. We're like, we'll go out and do the same thing we do with the tech we're bringing in, whether it's Black Project or Chinese or whoever else. And we'll look at these things that are supposed to be assets or balls of light or orbs, and we'll do the same thing with the photos, the videos, the data links, and bring in the proof and the answers in an honest way. Like, I really don't care if it's NHI or it's China or us. We're just after the proof, and that's the best sort of method for all this. But they didn't want to do it.
So what did you think of the latest hearings? Did you watch the latest hearings? What did you think of them? And this group of whistleblowers like Dylan Borland, Nucatelli, was it Wiggins? What did you think of those three guys? I liked Borland. I liked all three of them. But I really liked what Dylan Borland had to say, especially afterwards in these Twitter spaces afterwards, about how disclosure was up to the people, and we need, basically the whistleblowers, quote unquote, that they hear us, that they've been listening to us, and that they basically needed us to help push disclosure forward and to help keep them safe because they're being fucked with, just like they're doing to you. Probably
Yeah,
more so.
I didn't like the setup. For me, especially being business, I create a plan that's strategic to win or get it going. And I feel like the hearings are still along the lines of like, let's get some witnesses in here that have really big things to say, and let's hope that creates some momentum, which is different from what I would do with my plan. So I actually submitted myself for it. I said I would come in, reveal my identity, talk about the proof. My only request is that I was polygraphed beforehand so that I could say that everything that I'm saying is past the government level polygraph. I told them you can bring me in first or last. I won't sit with anybody who has stories of NHI unless they have passed the polygraph, in which case I'll buy the first round at the bar afterwards. But my strategic plan was no one's cutting this because regardless of someone's credentials, they look at it and they say that person's crazy or that person's all Venus and that's what the light is. When you go in with some information and proof and you go in your polygraph, then the media has to argue with that pass the same test that the people with the nuclear codes or the pistol next to the president guarding him have passed at that level. So now you have to pay attention to what they said, and you're almost forced to report that as fact. And that's how I was going to move forward with bringing this into the mainstream and making sure we had the right attention. I was talking to one of the people for Defense Magazine who covers some of these issues, and that particular person so many times has sent me a text with the laughing emoji about something I said, and like, you know, my editor literally said, "Don't do a story just because that was said." So now, the person can't even cover the whole everything else that was said because they don't want to have an article in their media source that references something where a 5-foot alien was mentioned. And it's at that level, but people in this community are like, "Yeah, that was great. What is your plan?" Right? Like, my plan to fucking win. That's how I draw plans up. And, because they wouldn't do that, didn't want to do that, I was never invited to it. I was kind of done with the whole thing afterwards.
So let the shitty taste in your mouth. I get it.
Yeah. So what I think about those three people, well, I don't know. I mean, they've all in their position probably been on a polygraph because that's part of government when you get into clearances. And a couple of those guys I'm betting did have to go through a poly, so it shouldn't be anything new to them.
Yeah, according to Dylan Borland, yes, he's been polygraphed numerous times. I don't know if he's been polygraphed in reference to the UFO thing because I'm not sure how much he could really answer under a polygraph. Wouldn't that kind of screw him if he is whistleblower and NDA and he has all those, he can't talk about this?
It is, but I think if you look at what everybody said, their story, just polygraph that story. Right. Don't change anything they said. Like when they're saying they were at this hangar owned by this company, and I saw this city block sized craft come out of it. That's what we need polygraph. Not so much you have to talk about all the SCIF stuff, but just make sure what comes out of your mouth, every media source and every person you tell about it knows they passed the same.
Yeah, I saw the craft. No, 100%. So since you've offered to take a polygraph, what specific claims would you want tested?
I've allowed them to say anything or ask anything they want. My idea is, and this bothered me about the whole questioning too, right? I get it. You think it's great to show up and ask someone questions they're not expecting, but you look at how nervous some of those guys were, and then you're trying to remember shit that happened 10 years ago or 20 years ago. I didn't like the whole setup of the hearing, but I'll go through all this GPS coordinates, the date and timestamp where there was a craft and the data link. I'll be polygraphed on it. I'll describe the craft to you. I'll describe several things about that. I can't show you the photo. It's going to be in a SCIF, but I'll give you everything you need polygraphed where you have a physical location, date, time, performance, everything from something close up right by me for over 10 minutes. Not a light in the sky, not something like that.
Now
so
you've seen 4K images of some of these things, right? So how close to like Hollywood type shit does this stuff look on? Like, if you saw that, what you're seeing in your images, right, in your videos, if you just happen to see it with the naked eye, and you happen to witness it standing on a street corner and it just happened to fly down the road 100 feet over your head, you'd be like, holy fuck, what the hell was, like, that's how close it is, like how crazy some of this stuff looks? Or is it like you're
Well, Phillips, I don't know how he wasn't processed by the Espionage Act because I know so much of the shit's in a TSSCI folder, but we'll use his words because he's already said it, right? That's a safer way to go about it.
Sure.
He said he went over me, by the way, because he said that the chairman of the SSCI asked him if he was sure about all of his answers to report back to me on. Of course, SSCI had the metadata, so the AARO was wrong and lying, but he still got sent down to the Nevada test range, so Area 51. And what he saw down there, some of it looked like Klingon battle cruisers and battleships, and things like that. So, yeah, it is stuff you see, and you're like, man, what the fuck is that? But it's not the stuff you see in Hollywood of saucer-shaped windows with people looking out. Just sort of not. It looks like a real badass fucking helicopter / fighter jet looking.
Okay.
Armored up. Yeah.
All right, so I'm curious because like what I've seen a lot of times, and I can't I don't understand it. Like hypothetically, these beings create this technology that's just crazy, but then it's always fucking spinning on the outside. I'm like, why would it spin on the outside like that? It doesn't make sense why you would have. The thing that I saw didn't spin, but a lot of times you see these images and they're spinning weirdly, and I just feel like, why would the alien want to be on basically like a cyclone? You know, like when we were kids, we went to the amusement park. You're essentially on that cyclone that sticks you to the wall.
Yeah, I got nightmares.
Why the fuck would you want that flying through space? Like, it doesn't make sense why the craft spins. Now, I know a lot of times they talk about a lot of these craft are like TARDIS, where it's like small on the outside, and then you go inside, it's like the size of a fucking airport hangar. But still, it doesn't make logistic sense as to why these things would spin. So some of these crazy things I've seen, they don't make sense. But then you've got a couple of these YouTube channels, like there's this one called Jen and Ed. He's got some of the craziest footage I've ever seen on a lot of these UFOs. It's just it's crazy. So you don't think that Roswell was actual aliens? You think that was what they, you know, the bullshit cover story of balloons and oopsie, you know, we crashed a balloon? Because
yeah, but I mean, it's that two-way division, right? So the first division is it was an alien craft. Now we're hearing maybe there's more than one crash site. I've been through Roswell.
There was two of them. There was two
crashes. Loved the McDonald's, loved the museum. You know, I'm not an alien person, but I've never went to like one of these places and not had a hell of a good time, right? Green alien beer. I mean, you know, good place. So I mean, I looked all around it. And basically what you see is people that believe everything, even the ever-changing story, that this is the picture of the guy holding the material that could change. Now it's not. Now it's different material because someone took the original material. And then on the other side, to make the other side look bad, they like, oh, it's a balloon story. Well, we saw what happened with the Chinese balloons. So what you did in those years is you would put all your sensors up looking for these incendiary balloons or other different craft or radar, and people still do it. We use it in some of what we do, and we're doing shit that no one else can do, right? High altitude balloons. And one of them would have came down. And we have files, whether people believe them or not, that show that was being developed, and there was some that crashed around there because balloons and shit crashed, and you would have had a bunch of sensors, and then what would you have done? You sure wouldn't have told anybody what you were developing, and then one little story feeds into another, and then the next thing you know, as we see here on UFO X, it doesn't take much to start a
I mean, look at the guy with the booga tube. That dude basically came on the thing and was like, look, it's fake, here, see it? And they still wouldn't believe him, which was the craziest shit ever. But at the same time, so there's a few things.
Something happened there. I just don't believe it was
100% something happened. Yeah. But at the same time, with the Roswell thing, what I didn't know was I always assumed the Roswell craft was saucer shaped, and it's not. It's manta ray shaped or whatever they called it, and it had different shapes and different. And that's the thing that got me looking into it now. And then recently, the National Archives just released an almost 2-minute long video footage of what's rumored to be that crash. And then what they did was somebody took AI and they used it because it's black and white footage, so it's really hard to distinguish what's what. And they used AI to essentially make the craft visible, so blue. And there's newspaper clippings of the actual craft they got in the sky, taking a picture of it, which is crazy, because it was rumored to have been seen days beforehand, which again, I didn't know all of this backstory, is that they were seeing it flying. They were seeing these two ships flying constantly over those couple of days, and then it just so happened to crash the day that it crashed. But the National Archives, what they did was somebody took AI and they basically blued what the ship would be. And I'll post it in the video afterwards so people can see it. But it's like very visible, that shape of the craft. It's pretty crazy. It's like, I didn't know, you know, again, I never knew that it wasn't disc shaped. So I think for sure some shit happened there.
As far as I knew, it was this shape. Everything that seems to be, even in some of the old papers they pulled up there, it was this shape. But this is again where we get into trying to investigate something in 2025 that you know.
I'll send you pictures of the stuff that I found. But yeah, I found out that it wasn't ever disc shaped. It was they call it ray shaped. The shape of it's pretty cool actually, and it actually makes sense when you see the shape of it. How every goddamn plane that we've got now that's high tech is all shaped like that. It's kind of nuts.
For sure. I mean, you know, one last thing on that, like we started this out and we had questions questions because we didn't know when this first started going, is this ours or is this, we'll say alien, because that's what everybody knows what it means.
Yeah,
It's
I
like
always
trying
say
to switch.
alien. I say alien.
Everybody's trying to switch UAP with UFO. Let's just call it like it is. So,
yeah.
We had people on our team look at that, and we said take a serious look at some of the best cases, the best information. Roswell, because of how it was and how these stories changed, you just couldn't pin anything down there other than the little bit that we have. And I didn't happen to find those pictures in it. I didn't, I looked at the results, not the case. And then you get into things like this aerial school case, where the children had, was mentioned as one of the top ones, had a craft come down and land, and they communicated with them mentally and told them technology is bad, and then they picked up. And so I was like, all right, well, look at that one, because every single major player in this game, even they talked about it on Rogan multiple times. And we looked at it and we said, okay, so there's a lot of problems with the story. They were saying that all the kids were from essentially the third world nation. I think it was Zimbabwe or something. It's not. Most of the kids were there from foreign parents were there that were doing the work.
You talking about the school children with the
And then it's like, oh, how come when we look at it, we find out that there was another UFO scare right before that all happened? A piece of rocket debris that we know now came down, and one of the other newspapers covered it, and they started drawing pictures. And some of those pictures are like the pictures the kids drew. And then you say, well, there was recess and there was teachers out there, but none of the teachers actually seen it, just the kids. And it just kind of keeps going and going and going, where even I just look at stuff and I'm like, man, I can't draw this up. So our text, and then you get to the Nimitz, right? And at the Nimitz you say, what happened? Well, we don't have anything. What is the forest one where the guys got the radiation burns that everybody brings up? It's the aerial one, and the one that got the radiation burns. I think it's Rendlesham or something like that forest. Well, what happened? What happened at Nimitz? Well, nobody got communicated with through their mind, right? There was none of that. Radiation, we would have picked it up. Also, keep in mind that Tic Tac flew next to one of the Hawkeye planes, and that Hawkeye was in an accident not too long after that, and they brought it to a boneyard. So we could go back, radiation has a shelf life, and see if there was any radiation on that, which is what's bothered me about the whole investigation. It's never been like an investigation to see if any of those things were there. It's been an investigation to look at nothing. And then you think back as a school kid, you got that diagram, right? You got two circles, and in the middle they intertwine. Everybody's putting the technology of these things that disappear in front of your eyes, like from the Nimitz and the Tic Tac, in the circle with radiation, mental communication and everything. And it's like, for me, that's not how I do it. For me, it's like, that's a separate thing. Not everything we see high-tech stuff doesn't necessarily mean it's us. I believe there is something in the air, and we don't know what it is. And you look at the universe and the vastness of the universe. I don't ever mark that off. I just haven't come across something where I've been like, oh yeah, this is something other than human tech,
Okay.
So I don't say it's not possible, but anyone that's ever told me stories, I was like, oh, I know, this sounds crazy. I wouldn't believe it either if I was you. And it's like, okay, well, I don't, because there's not really anything for me to, go off of. But then you get on to like UFO X, Twitter X, and it's like everybody's pissed off that I'm like, well, I don't really have any evidence to say like, yeah, man, that sounds legit or to look at,
It's crazy because you've seen some shit, but even still, you're like, all right, fuck you, show me, prove to me that it's alien. So I get it. You're like one of those fuck you, show me. I get it entirely. So yeah, you don't believe in the woo whatsoever, but but ironically enough, you've seen more than 99% of most humans, and then you're still saying, okay, I need to drag the fucking alien body out here. So what's your take on these Nazca mummies and all this stuff that's coming out? Like, what do you think about those things? Do you think that is hypothetically alien? Do you think that that's just some type of creature that lived on this earth at some point? Because it's been proven that these things are legitimately real, but then you've also got the metal implants. So how the hell do you explain that from over 2,000 years ago? It's just
I think it's all BS. I mean,
really, you don't believe the Nazca mummies are real?
No, the gentleman that's involved in all that, and I wish if you were gonna, I always look at things, and people don't like this, but if I was gonna do that, even when I think it's bullshit, how would I have done it so the bullshit went better, right? That's how I view this stuff. The gentleman that's done it has been accused and of things like essentially grave robbing bones and
You're talking about Jaime Musan. You're talking about him.
yeah,
Yeah.
putting them into plaster of Paris and Play-Doh before. So that's not a good start. I wish it would have came from somewhere else. Well,
No, I get it. So he's kind of like the boy who cried wolf. No, I get it entirely. But dude, there's scans of these things. You can look at the actual, like this guy, this tridactyl guy that I just interviewed a couple weeks ago. Bro, he's going over the actual like MRI scans of these things. You can break it down. You got to look into it. I'm telling you, these things.
I mean,
that's legit.
I've
they're legit.
looked at it, and I guess what I've seen hasn't been, like Burlison here recently said, he got some of the results back from the spare, right? The beluga spare, whatever the hell it is, and it's like, well, it came back to this, and it's like, well, yeah, that's what everybody on X is saying. The problem is you can't date coding, because what the coding is stuff that's tens of thousands of years old. So the result you're getting is not saying the spare, the metal under it. So there's shit like that when I look at the tridactyl scans and things where I'm like, yeah, I get what you're saying, but I think that's been positioned in a way it's not necessarily where you think it's concrete as it is. Now keep in mind, I'm open to all this stuff. So when I look at stuff and I say it's bullshit, it's not when I say it's bullshit like everything you bring up, I'll be like, oh no, that doesn't exist. I wish it did. I mean, hell, let's get the aliens or whatever.
I mean, let's face it. We wouldn't know what an alien looked like if it dry humped our leg. To be honest with you, so there's a good. I firmly believe based off of those scans, because like I said, I'm basing it off of the medical scans. You're talking about MRI scans, ultrasound scans. There's real scans that you can literally break down these things. You can see the individual muscle fibers. You can see the inner workings of their bodies, the organs. It's pretty mind blowing that they've finally done this with the scanning of these bodies, and I think that they're legit. Are they alien? I don't know. But then you've got the metal implants inside them. So how the hell did that happen 2,000 years ago, technology-wise? It's just, it doesn't make sense. You've also got brakes and things.
It's going to keep going because it's got interest. And, that's something I always tell people. And that's why when I do podcasts, I do them with people like you, where it's like, it's okay for two people to talk.
Oh, for sure.
And see things differently and disagree and say, let's wait on the evidence. And that's kind of where I think everybody's at on on that particular issue, because there's nothing we can do other than wait.
Yeah. Short of them dragging a live one out there. Yeah, you're right. There's nothing you can do.
So,
I just think it's I don't know. I think that is a very telling. It's crazy. These things are legit. Whatever they are, they're real. I don't know if they're alien, but there's something. And again, you're entitled to believe everything that you want to. But I'm telling you, look into it. It blew my mind what this guy was showing me with the scans.
For sure, and everybody remember that on this whole stream. Don't see either one of us ugly messages. Everybody believe whatever you want. Like I
ignore that. I ignore that stuff, dude. It's crazy. These people are crazy on Twitter. I found that out. Like,
I'm not selling anything. I don't have a book. I'm not doing any speeches. You don't even know what the hell I look like if I bumped into you. Like, this is just my opinion based on this. If it helps, great. If not,
we're all entitled to it. Yeah, no, dude, I hear you. It's like the Chupacabra stuff. Like I was I guess I get along very well with the Red Panda and a Chupacabra dude, and like if I post anything positive about either of them, I get attacked in the comments, racist, and like I've never had these dudes say one racist or unwelcoming thing to me. They've been nothing but respectful, welcoming, and nice to me. So I don't understand why they get such a bad rap. What do you think is going on with do you know anything about that whole thing with the supposedly Lou Elizondo's got people on them and gang stalking and all that crazy stuff?
Oh man, yeah, I don't.
Or you avoid it?
I've avoided that. I haven't been made how many times like I had to block some people and ignore them, because it's like I would go into a space and talk to somebody. They asked me a question. They asked it to me in a civil, way. So I answered it, and then I got messages like, "Oh, don't talk to that person. That person's, this, this, and that."
Dude.
And
yeah, it's crazy.
One of the first spaces I did, I said that I was like, someone was like looking at who I follow. Oh my God, he follows this guy. And I was like, look, when I started this thing out, when I could keep up with it, I haven't been able to, just thousands of people, but like, you follow me, I follow you back, right? You follow
Yeah, I
me.
was doing the same thing. Yeah.
I don't know who the fuck these people are. I didn't run a background check, like remind me of high school shit. So
Yeah,
yeah, I'm not.
it's fucking it's Twitter, bro. Like, calm down. It's an internet thing. You close it, it's gone. That's I don't understand. They put so much. It's weird. Let's just say hypothetically, Lou Elizondo is doing all this stuff to these two guys, right? Why would you care about Twitter? You turn Twitter off, it's gone. That's why I don't understand it, man. I don't understand why they make Twitter such a big more than what it is in
I
the
don't
internet.
either. As soon as I'm in a space and people start bitching, which happens every time, I don't think I've ever made it to the end of any space because it's like there's some fight that starts. I'm just like click,
Yeah, it's all day. It's the same
No,
shit.
it's not helping any narrative or truth if you're claiming that's what the fuck you're here trying to find.
So what specific connections do you see between the Kansas historical sightings, like the 1897 Demon of the Air, and modern UAP/drone incursions?
Well, I don't. But keep in mind, I've had family here going back into those years, and none of them have ever seen anything. So I don't have like the reliable where I say like, well, somebody I know and they're rock solid said, they saw a demon in the sky where I have something to base on. So again, I'm just reading reports, and one of the things I compared it to was like that old map of the sea, where it's like if you go over by this rock, there's an octopus that eats ships, and then here's a squid, and half the ship's torn apart, and the guy's in his tentacle eating them, and it's like, believe it or not, people used to believe that shit about don't go here, don't go there. Some of it had to do with things like pirates, where treasure, and then there's some god awful, reason not to go in there. You're gonna be dead or killed, and you kind of look at the stories, and that's kind of how I look at those stories of the old ones, where it's something in a paper where it's not that I'm gonna call people liars, but there's nothing there, and that's the problem with almost everything, including at the hearings where they tell you something, there's not even a date or a time or anything. You go back and review, radar stuff, where it's like, what did you say that has anything for me? So for me, as bad as an answer it is, I just wipe that stuff off. Don't even look at it.
So what about their claims of there being stuff in the ocean? Then are you like their claim that there's a big ship off the coast? Not a ship, but there's a big base basically in the water. They claim that's off the coast of in the Caribbean where the Bermuda Triangle is. That if you get too close to it, it'll basically delete your everything, and they're claiming that thing builds other drones and other ships, and it's just like a mobile station. It's on the go. What are your claims? What do you think about that stuff? You think that's legit? Have you seen anything with your systems
Oh,
that
the
pertaining to that?
ocean is expensive. That's the thing that I think a lot of people don't realize. Just look at that particular scenario. You're going to need not just one boat, but probably more. When I say boat, I don't mean like a rowboat. I mean a fucking research vessel.
Right.
And you're paying literally, you're looking at a price tag to go out for a week and pull something off like we do on the land. You're probably talking a couple hundred fucking grand. You got to pay for all these people, all this shit. I mean, you can't run regular stuff under the water that you can run in the sky. I mean, so I don't have any real knowledge on the water. I'd love to, but unless the financing is there, you could say whatever you want in the water and the ocean. As we know, so little of it's even explored or mapped because of how expensive it is. And all I can tell you is I don't believe it, but there's no way I can say here's the evidence to disprove it, because it's a whole other environment. But what I doubt is that there is a craft that can do what it's doing in the sky that we've seen that can do the same thing in the water. You would have to have two different crafts. So I don't really believe into the stories that this thing can go in the water and do all this stuff and then come out in the sky and then go into space. It's not what we're seeing.
Okay. All right. So you've never witnessed anything going transmedium then, from the air to the sea, from the sea to the air.
Nothing other than the surface of the sea. But when you start talking about the stories of underwater and these sort of speeds in
traveling through the water like fucking 500 miles an hour, and
never seen. But I've never looked for it either, right? So
okay, all right, that's fair. So what do you think? Now they're talking about there's a good chance of Trump releasing disclosure or something. Do you think he's gonna nut drop the world and say, you know, here's the aliens, here's the gray, here it is, it's my best friend? Like, do you think he's gonna do disclosure, or you think he's gonna clam up? Like, do you think there's a good chance of Trump spilling the beans? I could honestly see him doing it, to be honest with you, especially with who his uncle was, John Trump, and confiscating Tesla's shit. You know, if it's legit.
Start with the House, I guess, the UAP caucus. If they knew, I think you may hear about it from them, but they just don't have any power, and that's not a personal knock. Like, I like Burlison, right? Like, I've got his phone number. He's a good guy, but they've been blocked, right?
Right. Yeah.
So
yeah. Again,
people that would probably tell you are just being fucked with, and then you get into the Senate, the SSCI people that have shit that they could release right now. They don't need to go and find it. I mentioned this a while back on when Burlison was saying he had to get the four corners to get the UAPDA and the NDAA, and I said there's no shot fuck, because I know for a fact that Tom Cotton, who's now the chair of SSCI, fucking hates UAPs and even hates that term, and that's on a video on my YouTube channel. And then lo and behold, the Gillibrand article in Maskapole, and she mentions that. She said, oh, well, it's all the same thing. I think the reason we changed the term is because Senator Cotton didn't like that term. Yeah, I fucking told you that.
I hate UAP so much. I really do. I'm old school. I like UFO.
Term. He's not going to deal with it. So he's there for a long time. He's either going to be the chair or the co-chair, no matter what, for a while. And I'm just telling you, those people are convinced it's drones. It's not coming from there. So then you go to the president. You really need a push. So what is the push? There's no push that's going to come from the House because they don't have what they need. And the Senate sure the fuck is trying to shut it down, doesn't want anything to do with it. So then it's just on him. And then you have to ask yourself the question, how and why would he say it? It's not that I think that he would say to himself, oh, I'm not going to say that. Like we've had a lot of presidents bury that stuff. I just also don't know, unless he's just come up from a briefing, right? And he gets a question. I mean, it's going to have to be something like that, but I don't think he's going to do, you know, like, was it tonight at a certain 9 o'clock, dress the nation sort of.
Yeah, it's funny. That's what people, you know, it's funny because with the friggin' Spielberg movie dropping the trailer yesterday, people are like, and now Trump's talking about some big important message tonight. So like, you know, UFO Twitter's like, oh my God, he's going to do it. He's going to disclose everything. Oh my God. So like people are going nuts right now thinking that that's what's coming.
It's not happening. And I just think that with shit going on, that is, I think if he ever mentioned it, it would be under the terms of us and the technology, because he's had some slip ups like that before where he said, we've got technology you can't even believe that can do, you know.
And he's made mention of the people from space numerous times on different. So like he knows.
It would be
he knows something,
yeah.
Man. I'm convinced he knows something. It would be interesting. It would definitely make tomorrow's shift at work very interesting if he nut dropped disclosure, because then I could be at work. See, you stupid fucks! I told you guys the UFOs are real. Because all they do is make fun of me at work. I get picked on all day.
Yeah, I hear you, but yeah, I think that's how it's going to come out, which may not be this sexy sort of, you know, sitting at the Oval Office desk and this sort of stuff and announcement. It's just going to come out somewhere, and people are going to be like, "Oh shit, did he just say it?"
Yeah. And because it's Trump, no one's going to believe it. Like, people are going to be, you know, CNN will be screaming for, you know, killing all aliens or whatever that they'll be doing. It's just, it's silly. So did you watch the, actually, no, I got a question for you before I hit this question. So have you been around Rep Luna?
I have not.
Damn it. I want to know how she smells in person. She looks like she smells heavenly. It's completely unrelated to UFOs. I think she's amazing.
When I went into the UAP caucus, keep in mind, after 2.5 years of drones, high technology, bringing in data links, metadata, and shit over the Senate, you know, I get over to the House, like I said, and it's like NHI, you know, Burlison's going down, I think it was Mexico, to look at the mummy things and stuff. Different fucking world. And so the reason I went to him first, and I've just kind of stuck with him, is he was on the Doge team. There's a lot of money things going on here, right? I thought that'd be of interest to him. And he's self-described, and everybody else describes him as the biggest skeptic on this. And it wasn't that I wanted to go in and pitch to him that it wasn't any of that. It was that I wanted to look at the thing that there's still that technology that could be human made. And so when you go into somebody like this, for anybody that doesn't know, it's not necessarily like you get pulled into a round table meeting and have biscuits and gravy with timber shed or something like that, breakfast. It's like whoever you talk to, basically now you're in and out person. So that's Burleson wanted me to come in and brief the table. He relays what I tell him, and so on. So
I just want to hear Burchett say "dag nabbit" in person, like just once. He doesn't create "dag nabbit." It's funny with him. He's
yeah. Well, just because
like
you mentioned that, I want to say this because people don't understand how bad it is. There are so many fucking people calling and texting all the representatives that nobody that should get through can fucking get through. There are so many UFO alien people calling. It's become a joke.
Well, I'm sure it's got to be to the point of like, all right, enough already. All right, Xenon from Klaatu, enough already.
Even the Senate and some of the senators and Mike Round said we've got more calls about this than anything else we have. And you kind of think like that's kind of bad to look at U.S. citizens.
I mean, honestly, maybe they should fucking wake up and see how important it is. Then, if you've got this many people calling you about it, there's a reason. We want to know, and it's been 80 plus years of, we're not all stupid. We know something happened. We know you've got something. We know they've got something. If there really is alien life, they've got something for proof.
Well, I just ask people, make sure you have your spiel set. Make sure you have some proof. It's not that I'm saying your story about your abduction did happen back then, but again, like I was saying, when I listen to somebody, what are they saying that I could use to verify or more research what's going on? And just have a story you think it was in April of '86. It doesn't do anything. And the problem is I've had people reach out to me who are higher technology people with actual documented proof on, sort of scientific technology and devices that I've had to funnel in to Burleson and that committee because they couldn't get through on the fucking phone. They were calling for 2 years, and it's just so full of alien stuff. So, people understand you may think you're doing better blowing these phones up, but put it together a little bit more. And again, I set a plan to fucking win, right? So just like the hearings, I don't really care about stories, and I don't think they do anymore. Have some shit to bring in and put in front of them that you can verify,
Yeah, it's too bad. It's too bad you can't. God, if you could give like a image or something, or it's too bad you're not allowed to give like an image or a video or something. Like when I interviewed Mike Battisti, he had that video that was interesting that was playing. That was pretty cool. But it's too bad that like you're not allowed to, because that'd be outstanding. And speaking of which, have you seen? Because I've not watched it yet. Have you seen? First of all, the original image for Disclosure Day was pretty freaky, and people are like picking the image apart. And then have you looked at it, like all of a sudden, if you squinted a certain way, you realize, holy shit, that's a gray face. And then I've not watched the trailer yet. Have you watched the trailer?
I really was going to be a no-go on the whole fucking thing. I'm just not a movie TV person. Like, last thing I watched on TV was the Chiefs lose, and before that, I watched the Chiefs lose.
I'm a Giants fan.
Like,
I know the feeling. At least
like,
the Chiefs have been winning for a couple of years. So
yeah, I don't have like a favorite show or favorite actor. I can't tell you the last time I've been to the theater. The last movie I bought was the Ghostbusters. Not the last one, but the one before that, because I got kids, and it was kids. But like, that's not my thing. So with that said, when it came out, I was actually pretty impressed with it, the storyline structure, and I'll probably go see it. So I have seen the trailer.
I've not seen the trailer. Would you like to watch it along with me?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, let me set it up so we can see it together. This yet whatsoever.
If you found out we weren't alone, if someone showed you, proved it to you, would that frighten you?
Good morning, Kansas City. Let's take a look at today. Today is Today's...
People have a right to know the truth. It belongs to 7 billion people.
What is it?
You wouldn't believe me if I told you. So I'm gonna show you.
What are you gonna do?
Full disclosure to the whole world. All at once.
People keep wondering. Encountering the unknown.
Listen, girl. Switch.
They are starved for the truth.
Do you think there could be others?
Why would he make such a vast universe? Yet save it only for us?
Wow. Okay. That just gave me fucking absolute chills.
There's so much there too.
Holy shit. I gotta watch that like 11 more times. Dude, there's so much to unpack there. Okay, so I just I had never I saw Close Encounters when I was a kid, right? Essentially I saw it when I was let me just move this and then I'll on my mouth. Give me a second. Wow, there's a lot to unpack with that. Holy shit. That literally gave me chills, and I don't. It's
a
really,
good thing. I mean, that's what I
so
thought.
gay
I'm gonna
say
see
that.
it.
Yeah, dude. That. Wow. Okay. So. Yeah, there's so much to unpack there. I just got. I'd never seen Close Encounters myself. Well, I saw it when I was a kid. You know what I mean? And when you're a kid, you don't. Really,
I remember my dad watching it. That's when I seen it. Yeah.
Right, and you don't pay attention to it. And I just watched it now, and I watched it with 49-year-old eyes and mind of every rabbit hole I've been down with the UFO world. And there's no doubt in my mind that Steven Spielberg either has been clued in on something, has been shown, hey, come here, Steve. What the fuck you think of that? You know what I mean? Like, there's no doubt in my mind that that man's been shown something. And watching this right now, especially after talking to all you whistleblowers that I've been talking to and getting all this shit that okay, you got the religious aspect going in there with Catholicism. You've got so much stuff to unpack. Holy shit, Steven Spielberg. Wow. Okay. All right, wow. What do you think about that? About the preview?
I haven't seen it 11 times, but I've seen it a couple. And I guess the first thing that I thought's pretty much stuck the same. It caught my attention right off the bat because of the Kansas City. And then, of course, I got up some of my spare time arguing with an idiot about this. But, so Kansas City, Kansas, and Kansas City, Missouri is the same city. And I know it's a different state, but it's like there's houses on the line of both, right? So you're in Missouri, you're in the living room, you're in Kansas. So pretty much the same city. And if that's where it's going to be based, which I'm not sure because they talk about the whole world, I think it may go back to different cities and different places around the United States, and we'll see that in other trailers. But first thing about Kansas I thought was funny is like, well, I'm in Kansas, right? And one of the things I got a lot of contact from actual like politicians and folks involved in the investigation is when Dr. Kirkpatrick did an interview. It's on YouTube, but he mentions the story, and as he starts telling it, you can tell it's a real story. But he says the Senate Select Committee basically wanted to turn all the United States intelligence assets onto the backyard of Kansas because somebody keeps saying they're seeing something in the backyard in the middle of Kansas. He says it like over and over. Everybody's like, yeah, did you hear Kirkpatrick talking about you? Like obviously it's us, right? And that's what they wanted to do. They wanted to turn everything here because we're giving them GPS and stuff. They wanted to catch it while it was here. I mean, what the fuck is this thing? So I thought to myself, like, not necessarily is being told stuff, but is he smart enough to just be doing that, where you collect all these things, start feeding them to a movie, and put your own sort of, talent and spiel on the storyline. So as it moves forward from there, I felt like when you look at the nun, and they show a couple groups of people before her, the nun had a face of like, oh, I know who that is. I know what's going on. Everybody else was shocked.
Mhm.
And I think it's the same nun that's there. And also at the end where she goes to the house and says, whatever it is, do you think that God would create the world, the vastness of the universe just for us here? So I think she's going to be a main character.
You think the nun, or you think the
nun?
The nun. Okay, that could be
nun. And then I think you still got a family story in there. Everybody's looking at this like, oh, it's disclosure. What are the secrets? But there's going to be a story, right? Just like with ET, right? There's a family, there's a kid, I think what the story is going to be is I don't want to call him a boy. We're older, but the man or the young man that's in it who says, disclosure everybody at the same time. I think he's going to be either a kid or a brother of the woman who we're assuming Emily Blunt's the main character as well in this because of just her name or star power. There's going to be some story where it's like that was either an orphanage that the nun was at, or something of this effect, where she knows the family and the kids, and she was waiting on this to happen. And there's some sort of secret here that's entwined that she's aware of, and the boy's just finding out because he's standing in that crop circle as it's developing. It's like it looks like
that was pretty interesting with
the
crop circle
he's
thing.
Gonna be finding out who he is, what he is, the sort of hybrid. I think the Emily Blunt character may kind of know. I think it's gonna be one of the movies where it's like, oh, I hate our parents, or I hate our granddad because he was never around, or they gave us up. I think that's going to be the undercurrent of the story. Is at first he's pissed because he's like, yeah, world disclosure to everybody. And then towards the end, he's going to turn back to the old good side. Because if you kind of see this thing that's in the hand of the guy when he's going crazy with the thing hooked up to his brain, he's controlling something, looking at a monitor, and then it shows a couple scenes of other people with nothing in their hand, but you tell there's something there. That somehow he's going to have to join that team where you mentally staring the earth somewhere or not stopping the world collapse. But I think that's the overbearing of the story, which is a normal story. You're mad at somebody, change your history, then you're on the side. There's a battle against the bad guy. I think it's all interrelated. Normal movie.
Yeah, it's just the Catholicism images, the images of the animals, the language that she was speaking. That's what got me with the goosebumps. Like I'm like, oh my god, bro, what is that?
I mean, I guess other than assuming it's for sure alien, but I think that's the part of the story is you see the girl who's got animals in her room and she's basically looks like she's going to be talking to him. I think that's it. Is you're finding out these animals are old relatives, which has already kind of been talked about with the cardinal and stuff. And you look at that last scene, which is obviously something in your mind, where the guy is walking up with a deer cardinal, but also looks like a raccoon and maybe something else, to that kind of dreamy house, or dream vision house.
And what's crazy? Not a single fucking alien or UFO was shown in the preview once that I saw.
It's like, well, maybe contact again, right? May not be. Okay.
Not a single alien or UFO. And what was he? Like I said, I just watched Close Encounters literally yesterday. I finished watching it, and it was crazy how they basically show up, they drop off all those people and all the ships that they took, and then they just take Richard Dreyfuss and dip off. And I was like, okay, so that was it. See you later. Like it just.
I mean, I remember my dad watching it, and I'll be honest, it blew my mind. It's kind of like a lot of movies you watch back then, then you watch it now, and you're like, special effects aren't real great and different things. So it's hard to view it the same. But like when I watched this preview, it's kind of like being back as a kid watching that movie where you're like,
and I was looking at it with different eyes too. I wasn't looking at it from a movie. I was looking at it from okay, what does Steven know? Because clearly Steven knew something. Like I said, with Close Encounters, you had the ships, then you had the companion orbs, then you had all these, the poltergeist activity, which apparently happens with UFO sightings and abductions. It all goes hand in hand. So it's like, all right, Steve, you know something, buddy. Like somebody told you something. It's crazy.
I mean, I was speaking to someone that's going to be doing a documentary, a pretty big documentary. It's not out on the X yet, and I did agree. I don't know if I will or not participate in it, but these sort of things were talked about. It wasn't a documentary in the sense of we're all UFO believers. It was let's look at all sides, and some of the things they talked about is the psychology of why would someone believe, maybe their religious upbringing. And this is what triggers my mind when I watch this movie is like, if you really wanted to give something an honest look, this isn't a documentary, it's a movie, so it's still entertainment, but you would still want to cover all those areas. And so I think it's going to be pretty well versed. Everything I've said today about like I'm open to aliens. Matter of fact, I love it, man.
Mm-hmm.
Be all for it. It's all kind of based on like if you think about the universe, it's growing. All scientists will agree it's growing. We have things that don't make sense. That was one of the things I talked about in SSCI, where they'd be like, well, that craft defies physics. It's not possible. And they'd be like, well, let's just talk about the sun. We also can't duplicate the sun, but everyone in AARO agrees it's real. Right?
Exactly. You can see it. Right. Yeah. So
but it's
do you supposedly have something that fell off of one of these craft that
you got to be careful what you say. What I'll say is if you like Easter eggs like in Spielberg, you look at this picture I've got, there's some Easter eggs in it too. We'll leave it at that. Okay. But this idea of if it defies physics, doesn't really mean that it can't be done. It's just we haven't figured out how to do it. So back to the universe question, we don't know what the fuck we're dealing with. There's just so much stuff we can't copy, we can't figure out. We can only detect 5% of what's there, but we don't know. So we know there's something there like dark matter, but we don't know where the hell it is. What if it wasn't there? The universe would tear itself apart because there wouldn't be enough gravity. It gets fucking complicated. So where does the universe end? Well, we say it's this big, but how can it end? There's got to be something on the other side of it, holding it in place, or something that it could be growing. Oh, well, that's this gas. Okay, well, how long does that go? So it's impossible for something to just continue on forever. There's got to be an end, but there's also no way it could end because something has to be on the other side of it. So both of those are fucking impossible. That's the world we live in.
Okay.
So
go ahead.
So in other words, the fact that there may be aliens or something like this, I'm open to, but my question always has been like, what the fuck is on the other side of our universe, right? There's got to be something there. Then how long does that go? It goes back to my question. It can't end, but it can't go on forever. So how do you get it to impossible? When you look at things like simulation theory, I've never cared about because it's the same concept. Even if we're in a video game and we're being played by lizards that live around volcanoes, where does their universe end? It's the same thing. Eventually, it's got to be a thing that can't go on. So that's my overall question in all of this. And I feel like this movie, not that it may answer it right, but may have an interesting hypothesis or answer they put forward based on what the nun, as I'll call her, kind of says at the end of the vastness. So that's some of the stuff where I was like, wow, that's a cool angle.
Well, here's the thing that I think. So originally, okay, so before I delved into this whole world, I always thought that, because I'm not very religious, but I support the need for religion. I think religion keeps humans moral. It keeps humans from doing stupid shit. It keeps the world from basically self-imploding, in my opinion. So I think religion is very much needed. I always assumed that disclosure would blow the lid off of religion and would essentially destroy religion. But as I've delved deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper into this UFO topic, the irony is it's hand in hand together from what I've seen and from what I've spoken to. Like I said, I've spoken to a couple of people that have explained to me that it's hand in hand. And then when you've got claims by Rep Luna, when she makes claims like interdimensional beings of light, that explains angels and demons and God and religion to me. So aliens are essentially our gods, which makes sense to me. But then you look at this preview, and you realize there's a lot of specific Catholic religion references to this. And again, I'm not going to delve into what I've been talking about with people, but I'm hearing that Catholicism is the way to go as far as like if and when disclosure happens and the atonement and all this other weird shit, I'm hearing Catholicism is like the key to a lot of this. Now, I know it seems weird and it seems like I'm making bullshit up, but if what these people are telling me is that, like, if you're not Catholic, you should try to get to be Catholic. So that's kind of like, I'm glad I'm Catholic by birth. You know, I'm Italian, so I was Catholic by birth, especially with a name like VITO, for fuck's sake. So, yeah, there's, and again, I'm not religious, but some of this shit is freaking me out, especially now. I've got to watch this preview, and like, when we're done with this, I'm going to watch this preview like 10 more times, because
it won't help
my mind. So what are you thinking with, what do you think with this? Are you religious? And what do you think of all of the religious symbolism that's in this, specifically the Catholics?
I'll give the shortest answer I can. So kind of like you, born into a very big time Roman Catholic family. Just the way it was, we didn't argue with, the Bible, right, sort of thing. So with that said, and you can pick it up from me now, questions, because you get into the Bible and everything. The Bible is essentially Israel, but we're basing it as the world and the creation of the universe and things like the ark that be kind of hard to argue that happen now. So then you get into what is the main question? The main question is what happens after death. And I think there is something there, but I think it's the idea of man trying to create that story, which is why, depending on where you live, you have a different God, a different name, in a different place that looks different. I'm not going to say anything to offend anybody with religion here, but you have different stories about how they came to that religion. You could have 4 or 5 armed, purple folks that are part of the God structure, bigger religions. And so to me, it kind of seems like it's pretty obvious that a lot of people created multiple stories. So I don't base a lot on, for sake of Bible, but I think something does happen afterwards. With that said, growing up Catholic, that was definitely how it used to be in the old days when you got into things like exorcisms, which I kind of think this is starting to lean in a little bit on this movie.
Mm-hmm.
If you went to a Baptist or somebody like this, again, I should probably, let me retract that people get offended. But if you went to anyone other than a Catholic and you're having issues, they would tell you, I know I'm your preacher, your priest, but go see the Catholics. They know about that sort of stuff. I mean, they're the ones that in Latin that wrote the, manual for exorcism and things. And now the Catholic Church has not one guy that has to fly into Italy, like the exorcism movie or something, when he's in town. They're at every church. They've got one at every diocese, and every other religion has someone that can handle it. But that's kind of the old school way it used to be, was that. And, keep in mind, Catholicism in the most way is the world's largest religion. So if you wanted to hit the most people at once, which you hate to say it, but marketing wise, this is part of what you do. I think that's the angle, and the old school angle is, you went and saw the Catholics. You even see that some of, I want to say Garage, but better not, because I can't remember for sure. But somewhere in there was a story. I'm pretty sure it was him, that the Vatican had like a UFO and transferred it to the U.S. and stuff. So again, it seems like he's going on everything we've seen happen.
Yeah, it was the Mirabel UFO that fell in the 30s. The Vatican supposedly gave it to, or Italy supposedly gave it to the United States after the war. Yeah,
you may have just called it there. That may be the whole angle with the nun and these people. It may be that,
Well, I mean, look at the Pope's robe. It's got one of the petroglyphs on it. It's got an alien petroglyph on the robe. There's symbolism, and I know for a fact that the Vatican for sure has technology and UFO technology, and that they've uncovered all kinds of shit. Them and the Smithsonian are probably 2 of the biggest gatekeepers of human history that there is. They've
the Vatican again.
Giants.
This goes into the Roswell thing again, where it's like you kind of set yourself up, and everybody has their own views on this. But again, the Vatican ability to keep secrets, especially ones they shouldn't, or have libraries that you can't access, doesn't help them really help them, to be honest,
Look at Rep Luna. She's talking about the Book of Enoch basically being the key to all this stuff, and it's crazy. And the Book of Enoch was found with the Dead Sea Scrolls, and it's legit. And again, I'm not religious. I don't.
Yeah, I
don't
mean, and
subscribe to
people
it.
that are don't get upset. I mean, but there's just, even when you get into the study of the Bible, it gets interesting where it's not somebody sat down and wrote it. It's a culmination of so many stories, and then they rewrote it, or re-put together stories, and re-put together stories for new versions. And you look at some of the known history where
Mhm.
a guy over in Israel dug something out of the sand, and he was using it for toilet paper until someone seen what it was and said, "Oh man, this is massive. Why
Yeah.
why the hell is it buried in the sand? I don't know. This is a true story. What happened on those papers it used was probably important, but like those didn't get fed into the Bible, and we just don't know the whole history of this. But I'm just trying to tell people, like, I have questions. It's hard for me to, not that I'm not religious, but it's hard for me to be religious in the context of, like I said, like for instance, we built the ark, you put 2 of every animals on it. I mean, it just,
Yeah,
you know,
that's clearly that's a book of that's clearly horseshit.
yeah.
It's not
You can,
possible to
and
do
once you
that.
start seeing that men are writing things and kind of interpreting things or putting stories in, then it worries me on the rest of the, information.
All right. Is there anything that we missed that you'd like to touch on or you'd like to address? Is there anything that I didn't ask you that you'd like to talk about recently that's been going on? Is there anything that you would like to touch on?
You know what? I think we did real good on it. As far as the whole Tim Phillips stuff, I challenged him to a debate. There was over 100 people that reached out to him. I didn't tell him to, but just people that were like, "Oh, here's me." Got him on LinkedIn, and so he turned that down. And keep in mind, he said what he said as a paid employee. He was getting a check, and then they terminated him, and they continued to say it. So he doesn't really have an out of like, well, I can't say that now. You're still talking about it, and you're retired. So because of that,
so wait, so he's no longer with AARO, and he's still chirping and running his mouth?
oh yeah, still chirping on his mouth. He's gotten less because I have my ideas of why. But point being, that's over for me. I mean, he didn't want to get together and hash this out as 2 civilized people like we could have today, right? The other camera could have been on him, and you could have moderated it. Anybody could have. So it's not worth my time. I mean, I think he proved exactly what I wanted to prove, which is that it was all bullshit. And you couldn't back anything up. I could. I offered to bring my receipts, things like letters and emails from Dr. Kirkpatrick thanking me, OSI thanking me for not giving these materials. You know what I mean? So that's over. That was my big part of showing up on Twitter because nobody knew who I was, but I had to clear my name and my business name.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's been achieved. So I'm still around. I took a couple months off of Twitter, not really intentionally. It just wasn't something I felt like, I had something to say. And
A break is needed every once in a while.
Maybe. Yeah, I'm back on there posting a little bit here and there. But I don't really have like, where do you look for me at? Well, I mean, I'm on Twitter, but like, I'm just in and out. Because again, I'm not trying to sell you any books or this or that, but I try to give my insight where I can based on what I've been through and who I've talked to and SCIFs and how many years I've went through this to give you a real idea of what you're really up against and what you're facing. And
so wait, you're not trying to sell a 7-part book series like Lukatsky?
I guess I need to. You know what I mean? Like maybe it's shit, what am I doing?
Which again, I'm not shitting on Lukatsky. I think Lukatsky definitely knows some shit, and I think at some point I'm gonna have to read those 5 books. But I thought it was kind of funny. Dude was like, and 9 times. Listen, I don't shit on anyone trying to make a dollar. I'm a big proponent of capitalism and making money, and I believe because a lot of these guys aren't making. A lot of these whistleblowers aren't able to make money. Like Dylan Borland can't make money. He's getting screwed over. You know what I mean? So I don't have a problem with it. But my man came out of nowhere, was like, yeah, buy my 5 books. I was like, damn, bro, at least dial it back a little bit with selling the books. Like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I still want to read the books for sure, because I think Lukatsky said a lot in those 2 interviews for sure.
I'll just chime it up with this. I'm here trying to tell people what there is. So if they come around, which is how I put it, and they want a different way to go about this, like I talked about the polygraphs and the different ways we should do it, the way the Nimitz encounter investigation should have been ran. That Hawkeye's still in the boneyard, never been tested for radiation. And even the whistleblowers, like I said, I thought it was a bad platform. look at the
Yeah,
fallout.
I could get with that. I don't understand why you wouldn't take a polygraph test if you're about to testify. You should take a polygraph test for sure. Like you, at least to attribute to attest that what you're stating on the record is real. So yeah,
You're not
I'm right there
crazy.
with it. Right. Yeah, and you're not
Which
full
is
of
the
shit.
problem
For
we're
sure.
seeing with whistleblowers again. Is now everybody thinks you're fucking crazy. So
Because as we've seen in the past, these motherfuckers can just go up there and lie. You know, you saw a sitting freaking representative getting text messaged by the goddamn pedophile on the stand, telling the lady what the question. That shit blew my mind when you see that crazy shit. So
we know from things like, and I'm not going to get into the Edward Snowden thing, but just from that trial where you had the NSA, you had generals being asked, are you spying at things? And people we know lied. We know they willingly lied. Nobody lost their pension. Nobody got in trouble. That's how the government works. So you got to play by their rules, but you got to play by the rules and have a plan to fucking beat them. And that's kind of what I've been trying to tell people. Like, there's a better way to bring this shit to the forefront.
yeah. And listen, you were saying that you wanted to like all this stuff that I'm doing with OBS and all that stuff, dude. It's so simple. If you needed help, I could send you. You want, you know, don't think that because I hit stop record that like that's the end of our relationship, quote unquote. Like, I like to keep in touch with people and keep in contact. And if there's anything you want to hop on and say, you feel free. If you need help with your YouTube channel and getting this stuff set up, I can help you, dude. It's super simple. I can show you video links, and I'm not the smartest guy in the world. If I can figure it out, I'm sure you can. You're developing weapon systems so where you can see goddamn UFOs, for fuck's sake. So I think I'm pretty sure you can.
Hey man, I appreciate it because we're still going through, speaking to the government and the Department of War, as it's called now, and the intelligence agency, regardless of what Tim said. You know, he kind of made it look like that scene in the fucking trailer where Tim drove a Dodge Charger through my house chasing me or something, and I fucking chased him. But point being, like, I'm still in communication. If that doesn't work out, there's a plan to go public and break some of this technology, UAP technology out. And if so, I'll be big on the YouTube channel. I just won't be charging anybody for it in that sense. So.
And if you need help getting that, you know, I've got a small platform. I'm not big right now, but eventually I think my platform's gonna take off. If you need help getting the word out there, man, let me know. I'll help you. I'll share stuff on Twitter for you, whatever you need. Once I make friendships with people, I like to keep it that way and keep it civil. So if you ever need anything, don't hesitate to reach out and I'll help you out, dude.
Hey man, appreciate it.
Of course. I just want to thank you for this opportunity. I've got two channels. I've got the Perfect Storm Gaming one, which is, I was trying to do everything on one, but YouTube is making it to where like it really stunts my growth if I don't split it. So I had to basically split my podcasting thing into one and the gaming into the other, but I want to keep it where it intermingles. So what I like to do is, I don't know if you just watched recently, I had Ashton Forbes on. He came on the gaming side, and I'd like to eventually interview him for the other side. So if you're into gaming and you don't have to show your face, you could just do your picture like that. If you want to do the gaming side one time, you can come on with a live stream and we can, I don't know if you've seen my thing. I have like an arcade cabinet that I stream from.
Yeah. A while back,
if you're
you
into
talked
gaming,
about,
man. Yeah,
well, you got to get in the old school shit, none of the new.
Yeah, no, it's all retro games. It's all retro old school shit. So if you want, what we could do is we could do a live stream. We don't even got to talk about UFOs. We could talk about whatever the fuck. And I had it to where now you guys can actually join me gaming. So that's the cool thing, is I can have it to where my guests can play along with us or play against us. So if you're good at Mortal Kombat, you can kick my ass in Mortal Kombat, or we could play Mario Kart or whatever. So in the future, I want to have you on an episode. And before we take off, I want to get your thoughts on the MH370 videos. Does that look legit to you? Do you think that's bullshit? Is that some of the stuff that you've seen, or can you not talk about that? Like with those three orbs going around the plane, like, did you see that footage? What did you think of it?
A little bit that I know about that, and keep in mind, I kind of live under a rock. Like, I don't know what the fuck 6-7 means, or I mean, like, I can get to things currently that defy physics, as we would say, and bring in the information, and that's kind of my life. So that video, I never investigated it. A little bit that I knew about it, there was some sort of competition or something to debunk it. And the last I had heard, someone had debunked it.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. When they debunk things that hard and that fast, it makes me look into it even more. Do you know what I mean?
Well,
Does that make sense?
yeah,
Like,
I haven't looked into it. I mean, to be honest with you, it's not of interest
okay,
to me because I don't see anything
Fair
with
enough.
reverbs flying around it. I mean, like I don't. That's like a different. I know it sounds kind of the same, but it's like, you know, I don't have a fucking clue what did or didn't happen. You know what I
No,
mean? Like,
that's fair enough. I was just wondering if you happened if you've seen the video, if you happen to witness stuff like that, because
I can't even remember the video. I remember the orb thing, and it's like nothing I've ever seen does anything with 3 orbs flying around it. Let's put it that way.
and then it literally it's crazy because it's taken from 2 separate drone angles. The first one is from a Reaper drone, and the second one I thought was from a satellite, but it's not a satellite. It's from a they call it I forget what the hell Ashton calls it, the Gorgon platform or some shit like that. Gordstrom. It's something with a G, but I forget the name of it. I don't want to fuck it up. I don't want these people attacking me. But then the second, and if you line it up, it's identical. Like it plays together. It's crazy. If that is legit, if that's legitimately tech that I think the video is legit, and I personally think it's alien. Ashton thinks it's our government, and they did God knows what to those people. So either way, if it's real, that's some scary shit. So you should definitely look into it. I'll send it to you.
I don't have a clue about a lot of this stuff. You know, so I'm not the guy to ask.
No, I get it. I just didn't know if maybe you happen to see weird shit like that, and you know, you're having to go, okay, well, I didn't see that, but I saw something similar. And again, I don't want to all of a sudden have these motherfuckers kicking your door down, so I don't want you to say something that will get you in trouble. But I was just curious as to what your take on that particular video sequence was. I'll send it to you, and you tell me what, or you just click on Ashton's page. It's all over it.
Yeah, I mean the videos that are out there right now, the only one that really I think has relevance to me is from the Nimitz.
Okay.
You know, the other ones, and Go Fast and other different things, even that doesn't look like anything to me. The only one I can really, I don't want to say validate because I don't have the metadata stuff, but what I'm saying is that would make sense to me based on what we're seeing and how things work. It's just the Nimitz one. That's all that I've seen. Not that I've seen every one, by the way, right? But that's
right. And to take it out, what do you think Congress or the Senate or whatever can do to make it better and easier for whistleblowers such as yourself to come forwards and not feel like your life is threatened, your life's in danger? Like, how can they help you better? And this is for, like, obviously the representatives, if they're going to watch this, to see how they can help you guys. So what can you say to them? Because clearly it needs to be done.
Well, the Senate doesn't want to. So, as I said in the NDA, there was talk about letting anyone who came as a witness testify know about the restrictions on what they could talk about, which means getting a TS clearance, which means legally you have to shut up. So, mark that off. You really just got the House, and unfortunately, as you see with the House, or them trying to get legislation approved or get access to places like the Nevada test range, they can't do it. So, I think you got to wipe that off. It's not to avoid the question, but it's to say when you go back to my plan of setting the shit up better, where somebody who no one knows doesn't just walk into a hearing and get watched nervous as hell talking about information that is going to make you sound fucking crazy. It's not me saying you are, but again, let's use a different plan. Right off the fucking bat, if it was polygraphed, no one's going to say the guy is crazy. Everybody's going to say, or at least half the population will say, yeah, man, but he passed the same fucking polygraph that, you know, these people in the Secret Service do. I mean, like, you know, so like you got to help these fucking people help themselves. And some paper and something that's wrote on it that can be walked through. You know, you look at Tim Phillips and shit he fucking pulled. That ain't going to do anything for you. Legislation's not the answer.
Okay. Did I lose you?
No, I'm here.
Okay, he's just like
I threw the mic down.
that's a drop mic moment if I ever saw one. So basically, enough with the bullshit. Enough with the I thought I saw, I may saw. Cut the shit. Give them polygraphs. That's rule 1. Got it. And then number 2 is obviously your safety. You want to make sure that whistleblowers coming forwards are safe. And it's not a snake gallery that you're coming into, because that's what I've seen. It's like, yeah, come on in, whistleblower, let's go into the fucking lion's den. Yeah, ignore the lions that their stomachs are growling.
People hate this shit, but quit showing their fucking faces and their names too.
Right.
That's fine that you have their information, you have their back. But like, listen to me on this. Listen to me well. I've had people come and say, "What about so and so story? You know, they were drinking and this happened, this and that. That may be a problem." And I'm like, let's go into the whole UFO alien thing. The key to it is it's supposed to be fucking random, right? So you take a globe, you spin it around, you close your eyes, you put your finger on there, and wherever the fuck it stops, like we used to do back when, you know, where you're gonna live when you're old or something. That's who the fuck gets abducted. I don't know where my finger's gonna be. I don't know if it's gonna be a PhD candidate or if it's gonna be someone that dropped out of high school. I don't give a shit because it's random, right? That doesn't affect my view of their story, their background, and whether they have, you know, they lost their license for speeding. I don't give a shit because it's random, right? So like, it really shouldn't matter who these fucking people are. It matters you can pass the polygraph test. That's what matters.
Yep. Yeah, I like that. I like the polygraph test idea. I think that's genius. I think that should be the way to go 100%. And listen, if I'm a whistleblower and I'm attesting that everything I'm saying is the truth, yeah, sure, here you go. Sign me up for I'll take a polygraph test on the goddamn stand. You know
That's
what
what
I mean?
I recommended that to the House. And I said, look, tell them if you fail, we're not going to tell anybody. People won't like that, but it's like, don't stress these fucking people out.
Right.
That's the idea. Come in. We're not going to tell anybody who the fuck you are, your identity, right? You come in. It doesn't have to be this public fucking hearing and all this stupid shit. It's not a production. You want to get to the truth. You want to get to the truth. The plan to win isn't always pretty, you know.
So what's your take on all the psionics stuff? Do you think that's legit? Do you have belief in all the psionics and that these guys are connecting to craft and bringing them? Because I've seen some videos and I've had my mind blown by some of the videos that I've seen. And Mike Batista, I think Mike Batista is legit. I think Mike Batista is legitimately can do what he says he can. So
there's this famous Einstein quote that's like, "I don't care about this phenomenon or that phenomenon. I just want to know how it works." And like, that's really how I've positioned. I don't really give a shit if it's an alien or if it's a drone or if it's a plane. Kind of go back to like the, you know, New Jersey drones. Mm-hmm. Let's just fucking find out. And that was one of the pitches I made to the House.
Yeah, that's my thing was. Yeah. I didn't care what it was. I just wanted to make sure that like I'm safe because. And
yeah, I was telling him we'll go up there just like I can get, you know. And Burlison said that he's shown the photo that I gave him to people in the know on black budget programs, and they said it was jaw dropping. I'll fucking find out. I guarantee you that. And I made some relationships with these people, but I don't have anything to say now because it's like, again. Do we need another hearing, or should you guys just fund me to go out and get the fucking answers and we come in and later?
It's too bad you can't share those images. I would make that the goddamn thumbnail. I'm sure the fucking video would blow up. This video would explode. If I put that fucking thumbnail on there or whatever the hell it is, I wish I could see the images that you're talking about. It'd be amazing.
Oh yeah, and again, it's if it wasn't national security, but again, it's
no,
just
we're good. I don't want you getting arrested, brother.
Yeah, people understand why I'm here. It's never been about the disclosure because I haven't seen aliens. I can't stress that enough. If an alien jumped out on these fucking craft, you'd have the thumbnail. You know what I mean? That's not what's happening.
Damn it! keep watching your sensors.
Yeah, but we'll keep in contact. All right.
Right. All right, Mike. Thank you so much, man. Is there anything else you want to leave us with?
No, that's it. I'll be around here and there.
And then you've got a YouTube channel. If you send me that through the Twitter, I'm gonna link it, and I'm gonna I'll do the thing where I can do where I can connect it, so that way it's getting the strength of both of our channels. As long as you're okay with that.
Sounds good, man. Yeah, it's one of the things every once in a while when something comes out, kind of like we did today. I'll throw my thoughts down for the help of people, but again, it may not be. It's an ugly truth. So if you like the ugly truth, come listen to what I got to say every once in a while.
Yeah, and listen, come do the gaming stream. We do Tuesdays 8 o'clock. We just didn't do it this week because my wife is away. So Tuesdays 8 p.m. I do the gaming stream till 11 p.m. If you want to jump on that, you can come on, tell all your, make some posts on Twitter, and we'll make it a live event. It'll be fun.
Yeah, man, I got some plans already. We'll figure something out.
All right. Yeah, as long as you have an Xbox One controller and a PC, you're actually able to play with us. So all you got to, I'll give you a link. You click that link and then you jump right in, and then it's pretty easy.
Cool, man. Sounds good.
All right. Thank you so much, Mike, for doing this. I appreciate you.
Thanks a lot, Vito. We'll talk.
Stay safe, brother.
You too.